What's up, everybody? It's your brand buddy Patrick Sesko, and we are at another Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. And this is the Brand Marks the Spot show, a show where we talk about branding, design, and how we can use those things to help you grow your business and create more impact and create a business that you absolutely love. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about imitation versus inspiration. And this came up actually, this comes up quite a bit because in my field, design has become very commoditized, right? So many people can just see it and say, oh, well, I can just take this design and copy it and use it as my own. And really, that's not what you should be doing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today, on what imitation is versus what inspiration is. And before we do that, I want to go ahead and say the show is brought to you by my Create a Lead Magnet That Doesn't Suck Canva template pack. Speaking of templates, um, and this is sort of a response. I created this as a response to, I used to actually be against templates, but like I said, with the commoditization and the proliferation of design softwares and how far they've come, that a lot of these templates and everything can be used quite easily for somebody who isn't a designer or doesn't have a background in that. So I created this template for entrepreneurs to create a lead magnet so they can grow their list and have something that looks professional, that is professionally designed by yours truly, and that will just give them some credibility and build some trust amongst their audience. So go ahead and grab this template at patricksesko.com/lead magnet. And as always, hit me up if you have any questions. If you are on my mailing list, you should also have received a coupon code for a discount. So if you want to get on my mailing list, just tag me in the comments. So let's get on with the show today. And I'm kind of spitballing here. It's been a pretty crazy last couple days. I just finished my first VIP day, brand in a day with with a client. It's the first time I've worked in that kind of capacity where we do like a kind of a questionnaire prior to our meeting. We meet for 3 or 4 hours on Zoom, and we go over colors, fonts. We create a simple text-based logo and create a brand texture, and then compile that all in the brand guidelines with some additional templates. And actually, you get access to my lead magnet template as part of the VIP day. And that went really, really well, and it was very fun. It was super exciting. So it was very condensed and super intense. So if you have any interest in wanting to do your brand in a day instead of having like a 4 to 6, 8 week design cycle with a lot of back and forth and a lot of second guessing this and that, this is designed for online business owners to get their brand done quickly. The visual part of it, also, it's done with some strategy in mind as well. So hit me up also and just say that do a hashtag VIP day. And if you are joining me live, drop in a comment and say hello. If you are joining me as catching the replay, just do a hashtag replay just so I know who's watching when. All right, so let's get this going here. So imitation versus inspiration. So as a designer, we often don't create in a vacuum. We are influenced by our surroundings. We're influenced by other designers. And, much like being a musician, we're influenced by, let me move this out of the way, it's distracting. We're influenced by, other musicians. So, a lot of times, I'm a big Green Day fan, so you're probably going to hear that in the songs that I write. There are other people who are major Beatles fans, so you can hear a lot of the influences they might have in some of their music. So, they might like a chord progression or maybe a special way of tuning something or how a song is structured, and maybe sort of be inspired by that, maybe borrow little parts of how something is structured, or maybe this chord progression is kind of cool, but maybe you're going to change the cadence or something like that. So that's being inspired by something and being influenced by something. Imitation, in talking about music, is basically just completely ripping off a song, and that's happened. I mean, you look at like Vanilla Ice is the famous one, and the Queen's Under Pressure with Ice Ice Baby. So there was a big lawsuit there. There was a one, I think, with Katy Perry where somebody borrowed the Dark Horse song or they accuse her of borrowing it. And a lot of times in music too, it's can be unintentional because there's what 12 notes in music, so you're inevitably going to come up with the same chord progression at some point, right? So that happens in music a lot as well. But then there's also the inspiration, where you're going to have people who are inspired by certain bands. Like, the Ramones were probably inspired by the Sex Pistols, but they had their own sound. Even though Sex Pistols probably got a little bit more credibility and clout for the punk rock movement, but Ramones are king. So anyways, I digress. um, Imitation. So what I see in a lot of online stuff, online entrepreneurs, and especially like websites and things like that. I'm part of Amy Porterfield's group, her Momentum membership. And, she's a very well established, probably 8-figure a year entrepreneur. I'm going to grab a sip of coffee here. So she's definitely up there as far as a leading marketer, and she's got one of the number one podcasts on marketing. And I see a lot of people basically rip off her branding, and her branding is not super complex, right? So I get it. And what happens is, a lot of people are taught, not necessarily by her, but just in general, that, oh, you like something, just kind of lift it from this entrepreneur. You like this, lift it from that, make it your own, change the copy, put your photo on it, and so boom, now it's yours. And I can understand why people might think that, but what's happening is two things, right? So if you're just blatantly copying somebody's stuff and not even attempting to do something different, you can be inspired by, say, a color combination, or you like, hey, I like this font combination, or I like how that photo was taken, or I like how that website is structured, so you can use those things as inspiration. But when you just flat out copy something, you're not only hurting yourself, you could be potentially causing damage to the person that you're copying. So in a case like an Amy Porterfield or Brendan Bouchard or somebody big like that, and I see a lot of people kind of copy Jenna Kutcher's look and feel. And what happens is that people become confused and think that what you're putting out there is actually somebody else's, because I see so many like ads and posts in my Facebook feed, because I'm in a lot of these groups. So I'm probably targeted by, as an Amy Porterfield fan. And so I see these posts and ads and things like that looks just like one of her ads, or looks like her design or her branding, and I don't even think about it. It's like, oh, Amy's got a new thing, so I click on it and it goes to this other website, and it takes me, I say a minute, but not literally, but it takes me a few seconds to realize this is not her website, this is somebody else's. So I'm just like, hold on, that's not right, because I almost feel like it's a bait and switch. Like they copied that person's look and feel, who has this equity in the brand that they've built and the money that they've spent and all this stuff building their brand. And then somebody just lifts it and kind of rides these coattails. And what's going to happen is it's going to cause brand confusion for people who are fans and customers of, say, Amy Porterfield, like myself. And I was kind of tricked into clicking on this one ad that looked like her stuff. When it came out, it wasn't her stuff. So I clicked away, and I did not patronize that person because I just kind of felt icky. So they're damaging themselves, because now it's like you get that icky feeling that, oh, I thought it was going to be something else, and all of a sudden it's not this. And then so you kind of feel like swindled, if you will, and branding is an emotional thing, right? Like Amy Porterfield's branding has been, I've seen it countless times. So over the years, I have been primed, I have been trained to, when I see this look and feel, this color palette, her photos, all of that stuff, I immediately say that's Amy Porterfield, because I am exposed to it over and over and over again. And it's ingrained in my subconscious mind that that's her look and feel, that's her branding. And so when I saw the other person's thing that was sort of a copy of that, I clicked on it, go to it, realize it's not it. It's a bad experience. So one, for the person who's copying imitation, it's not good for them, because then people are going to feel crappy when they get there and they realize it's not what it is. Oh, I've been baited and switched. This has happened to me also with, I think it was 1-800-Flowers. another, I don't even remember the name of the company, but they literally, even the logo was exactly the same. It just said something different, but it looked like 1-800-Flowers. They just clicked on it, and I actually ordered. It was so good. I actually ordered it from this other company, and I didn't even realize that it wasn't 1-800-Flowers until I got like the credit card receipt, and I'm like, wait, what's this? And I went back and I was like, oh my God, it's not even the same. It's not even the company. And I'm not, this is what I do for a living. So I notice these things typically, but it was done so seamlessly that I was mad that I was like, man, so, that's what you don't want to do that when you're trying to get your stuff out there. You don't want to copy somebody's stuff straightforward, right? Instead, you can use those things as inspiration. So here's a couple of tips that you can use to garner or to gain inspiration from the stuff that you see out there without having to copy. And another side note too, I think a lot of people think that you can do this because of this proliferation of these templates, because a lot of templates are really good. And you know what? I sell a template for a lead magnet and other people can use it. But the idea is that it's customizable to your own brand and colors. You add your own photos or maybe your own brand textures. So that way it does get differentiated to your brand, as opposed to some of these prefabbed templates that are out there where you can't customize all those things. So all you can do is change the text. So if 3 people in the same industry are using it and they're competitors, there's going to be confusion. So what things you can do to be inspired? So what I do, and I do this too. I don't work in a vacuum. Um, when I start out a branding job or a branding project for a client or an entrepreneur, is I do some research. First, I do a questionnaire and I ask a whole bunch of questions about like their personality, who their ideal customers are, what are their values, and why are they running their business? Why do they have their business? And kind of like what's their origin story? How did they come to get to be there? Did something happen? Was like in my case, I was laid off from a job and I had young kids at home. My wife wasn't working, so it's like I was kind of thrust upon this whole online entrepreneurship kind of thing, running my own business, and that so I have a story there. So I find out what all that stuff is, and I kind of take note of it, and then we kind of take those values, those personality traits that you have in your business. And this works more for personal brands than it does, say, for company brands, but it works for both. It's just done a little bit differently. And those personality traits are kind of narrowed down to the top couple that you want to be conveyed most in your visual branding, because you can't convey everything, right? All of your branding works together in concert, kind of like playing a guitar chord. You've got like 6 or 8 different notes being played together to create a beautiful chord. If one of those chords is a little bit out of tune, then the whole thing sounds like crap. And it's kind of the same thing with your branding. As you've got your copywriting, your messaging, your positioning, your visual design, your strategy, all that stuff together is your branding. I do focus on the visual branding as far as creating, the visual tangible things. But to gain inspiration is, once you understand that strategic part, you start to apply it to how it can be conveyed in your visuals. So certain colors kind of emote certain emotions or evoke certain emotions. Fonts have their own little personality. Some of them are really strong and bold, and others are more like legacy driven and traditional. Others are fun and wacky. Others are handwritten. So kind of like, what is your personality and how can those fonts help convey that personality? Because again, branding is a very emotional thing, right? It's how people feel and think about you when they are exposed to your stuff. And so you want to have sort of influence on that, and not bait and switch kind of influence, but just say, hey, like if I was like really conservative and wore a suit and tie and was like, I don't know, a scientist or something like that, and was just very reserved, I'm not going to have bright colors and wacky fonts, right? It will be incongruent with what my personality is. So you want to use those things to kind of help convey. And to be inspired, it's like you can look at some other brands out there. You do want to find out sort of who are your competition, and not so much so that you can like race with them. It's not a race against them. It's more of how can you differentiate yourself uh, amongst them. So that way you're not necessarily better or worse. You're just different, and you're going to like, I can't think of the word here, but you're going to be more attracting people who are more like you, right? And so you'll have that kind of narrow niche of people. So you might be as good, better, or worse than the next guy in your niche, but that's not so much important than is being different, right? So they say different is better than better. Um, you still need to be good though. So, you still need to bring the goods, but you need to differentiate. And the way to do that is to, I hop on Pinterest. I look at color palettes. I look at my competition at what they're doing. So a lot of times in, the design world, I get a lot of like really kind of pretentiousness and these really like high-end, beautiful design stuff. But it's like, that's kind of not that doesn't attract the type of audience I want to work with. I want to work with new online entrepreneurs who aren't going to be intimidated by the ego of design and all that stuff. And, design is a tool that can be used to build your business. And it's not about, I always laugh and joke about the French beret and the, all that stuff. But, there's no ego in that. And that's kind of where my differentiation lies. And I'm just kind of like a regular guy, a regular dude. So my personality is what differentiates me some. And, I do things like wear my little hat here, that's kind of a differentiator as well. So I get inspired by my competitors and I basically pivot away from them. I don't do the same thing that they do. Um, and then I also look at just other brands in the space and other just brands that I just love, big name brands and, sort of unknown brands, and look at what they're doing in their business. Uh, whether it's their websites, how are they presenting their logos, what are they doing on social media, and I create what they call a swipe file. Now, a swipe file is like a Pinterest board of just ideas and things that you like and you're inspired by. But it's not used to swipe, meaning you can't just copy it, but you can be influenced. Like, let's say you like a logo, a monogram logo that's using a specific font. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I can do this. Or you like how a shape of a font is in, or you like how these words are stacked together. So you can be influenced by that. But again, not just copying it. So that's kind of the difference between imitation and inspiration. I know that was a lot and I kind of tend to talk fast, but I am passionate about doing all this stuff and it is just so much fun. And like I say, it's easy to get caught up to not think that, or to think that it's okay to just kind of, well, hey, it's on the internet. I can just copy this. No one will know. Someone's going to know eventually, right? And the bottom line is you'll know. If you copy somebody, you'll know. And, one of my values is integrity. And like, if I did that and I put it out to the world and try to pass it off as on my own and nobody found out, I still know. So that means, and that makes a difference to me. So I wouldn't want to do that. Right. And I wouldn't want to be copied. And, I have friends in the industry who've had their logos and things ripped off by other designers, not for themselves, but they would pass it off as a client work for their own clients, just change the name of a company and use literally the exact same logo. So it's like, that's low integrity, and it can damage the person that you're copying from, but it can also do damage to the clients that they're doing it for, because they might get hit with a lawsuit because they're using copyrighted material. So long story short, do some research, be inspired, but don't full on copy. Okay. All right. So that's what I got for you guys today. Again, hit me up in the comments if you have any questions or comments. Do a hashtag if you're catching this on the replay. If you're interested in finding out more about my VIP day, just hit VIP, type in hashtag VIP in the comments and I'll get up with you. And then also check out the lead magnet template that you can customize with your own brand colors and fonts at patricksesko.com/lead magnet. That's what I got for you guys today. You have a good one, and we'll see you next week. Later.